Welcome back to the show, everybody. We got a great one lined up for you today. So there appears there may be some cooperation in the SEC case with Ripple. We're going to take a quick look at that, but then we're going to take a look at some information that the Treasury may be coming in the next days, weeks at most, and releasing a framework for stable coins. And how might that affect XRP? Well, it just might make XRP a global stable coin. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. It is September 22nd. Right now, it's $1.878 trillion market cap for crypto. Bitcoin under 43 at 42,500 plus. Ethereum now under $3,000 at $2,900 plus. Cardano at 214, holding its own. And XRP at 96 cents. It's up 4.8% here on the 24-hour. Let's look at the range and price really quickly on this. And we see that we've dipped down as low as 86 cents on the bottom range of XRP price, which is a back test support line for us. So that is actually good news that we've jumped up again. And right now we are at the top range of XRP price at 0.9551 right here. Shout out to Phil and all the beach fam down there. I hope you guys are doing well. And looking at this, I want to set the tone because we're going to talk about this little piece of information that has come from James K. Filan here, showing that the SEC and the Ripple are looking like they're having a little bit of cooperation in what they're agreeing to seal without objection here. And that may lend itself that there is a lot more going on back behind the scenes in cooperation for a settlement or working towards a summary judgment. Who knows? But it does appear that I just want to set the tone for this because we're going to look at a lot of information today. But it may, look, we have looked at the path that how XRP could function at its full-scale intended use should it be dedicated to security. And we've looked at an electronically digital bond designation that could allow XRP to function in a Gary Gensler world. Not that it would be a stock or associated to Ripple, the company, in any way. It would be a bond of the ledger and all the money that's collateralized on it. Today, we're going to look at the notion that the Treasury may come into play here, and they may have something to say about Gary Gensler's view on whether stable coins are in fact securities or not. And we could even see the Treasury come in, do a forced buyback of the escrow each month it comes up. And comes available, and you could see the Treasury do a forced buyback of that escrow, and we could even see a potential for the XRP token to be considered, let's call it a global stable coin, because that's the term that the Financial Stability Board refers to some stable coins considering their designation, and the Financial Stability Board is a regulatory agency for recommendations from the G20. So let's go ahead and look at this really quickly here. I said it sounds like let me seal mine, I'll let you seal yours. Settlement in the works maybe, or just a common courtesy here. James K. Filan tells us that the SEC files a letter stating that it does not oppose Ripple's motion to seal certain portions of Ripple's objections in responses to the SEC's second and third set of interrogatories. And then here we see a follow-up of that. The SEC also intends to request permission from the court to file September 24th, 2 days from now, its own motion to seal with respect to these exhibits pertaining to submissions to the SEC by third parties. So seems to be a little cooperation here that no one's going to fight back on. We'll keep an eye on it, however. But let's take a look at this because Gary Gensler has made it very clear here, just spoke to the Washington Post. He's made it very clear, as we have talked about on this channel, he has indicated that under the current definition of security, the majority of crypto assets qualify as a security to him. And I have said that it is his mission, and I've speculated, and it is no longer speculation because he's cleared that up for us, hasn't he? So it's no longer speculation. He believes most of the cryptos in this space are in fact securities, which would allow him to have them become digital asset securities tuck them in the framework of the securities framework from dealer broker to the market regulator, the SEC, and voila, we're off to the races. And these things are now securities. That's what he's after. It is not a guess. He just said it. However, let's take a look at some things here. He talks about stable coins, and he says these stable coins are acting almost like poker chips at a casino right now. So, add to the Wild West analogy, I mean, we've got a lot of casinos here in the Wild West, which tells me he's looking to thin out how many casinos are here because not everyone has a broker-dealer license, and you need to get one. You got to go through the SEC to do so. And the poker chip is the stable coins, at the casino gaming tables. So with that being said, let's take a look further here. On something, this is all Gary Gensler's remarks here, right? Speaking to the Washington Post here, he says, it's on something called stable coins and how the banking agencies and we, the SEC, two market agencies, coordinate because these stable coins may have attributes of investment contracts, have some attributes like banking products, but the banking authorities right now don't have the full gamut of what they need. But his organization is not only thinking about stablecoins and trying to define them and isolate their attributes, they're preparing a formal document. We're working right now under the guidance of Secretary Yellen, which is the head of the Treasury Department, and working on a report around stablecoins. And in the world of stablecoins, I do think that there would be some help from Congress. This doesn't seem that bad. Their report could conclude that the stablecoins are a useful innovation and tool that the whole financial system can benefit from, right? Wrong. This is what Gary Gensler and the SEC think about stablecoins, and pay attention to the language, and it's what I just read you when he says we've got a lot of casinos out here in the analogy of the Wild West, right? And how these casino or stable coins are almost like poker chips at a casino right now. So he sees a lot of room for oversight. Now, let me just give you this, because this is the actual clip here of talking to a gentleman on Bloomberg. And I want you to hear what's said here about the potential for the use of stable coins and how it could be better, but we do have to assess the risk. Listen to this clip right here.
There's a lot of talk, as you know, and growing talk, I think, about regulation of cryptocurrency. Let's talk about what is practical, what could be done. And let me take one specific, and that's stablecoin. We have, for example, Janet Yellen, Secretary of Treasury, saying we better take a look at this because stablecoin, as I understand, is supposed to be matched against actually holding some currency. Not clear they are. And you've written a piece about breaking the buck.
Yes. Well, it's a perfect example, David, and it illustrates the broader problem that we've got a sector which is very dynamic and a lot of exciting things happening, but we have failed, the government has failed to modernize our regulatory framework. And that means we're not addressing the risks, but we're also not fully seizing the opportunities. With stablecoins, they are supposed to be backed basically one-to-one by the reserves that the issuer holds in dollars. In other words, they take in dollars and they issue a token.
Now, they could do that because we know that they could hold these reserves or surpluses in a federally chartered bank with FDIC insurance protection, right? Keep listening.
The question is, how are they investing those reserves? Will those reserves be there if people want to redeem the tokens? And in this sense, they're like banks that aren't regulated or money market funds that aren't regulated. And that's why I wrote a piece saying they could break the buck. We need a regulatory framework for these. And it's great that Secretary Yellen has started to focus on this. I wish she would move faster because, I think there are ways to do this through existing bank regulatory authority or through the Financial Stability Oversight Council. You could.
Well, the Financial Stability Oversight Council, FSOC, FSOC. We talk about them all the time. Keep that in your mind. We're going to get to that in a second. Keep listening.
But also go to Congress, and people have proposed some legislation. At the same time, we're not fully seizing the opportunities that well-regulated stablecoins could pose because we don't have this regulatory framework.
So he's talking about having well-regulated framework that we could seize the opportunities of stable coins. And what he's saying here is talking about banking, the banking framework. He didn't say the SEC. Gary Gensler's been saying the SEC when it comes to stable coins. He's talking about through the banking regulatory framework to seize the opportunities of these said stable coins. Keep listening.
The DM proposal, which was originally Facebook's Libra proposal, they're just one of the members of it. You know, they're willing to abide by a number of regulatory restrictions, but they still haven't been allowed to operate. And the point is that stablecoins could increase payment efficiency and lower the cost.
So stablecoins could increase payment efficiency and lower the cost. Doesn't XRP do exactly that?
And this is the broader problem here, David. We do not have a modern digital payments system.
Oh, well, isn't that what the XRP ledger actually is? A decentralized ledger for all things that have been digitized and tokenized, all value, all the money of the world, be it oil, gold, diamonds, land. It can all be tokenized and represented on the decentralized ledger for the world, the XRP ledger, a real payment system. And, you know, that's why Brad Garlinghouse, I believe, refers to Ripple as a blockchain infrastructure company, because they have been building market infrastructure, the bridges to all the legacy systems out here in the world.
And so stable coins are very useful in the crypto industry because you can instantly move value around.
Which is what you can do with XRP. But I know people are listening right now and saying a few things like, well, Brad, if it's a stable coin, it's only worth $1. No, we're going to get to that in a second. It would be worth much more than $1. But stable coin refers to a stable value. And that stable value could come from collateralized assets placed on the XRP ledger, which could serve as that new payment infrastructure that he's talking about here. And that could provide a price set for the asset itself.
You don't have to wait on a bank wire transfer or some other means of payment.
So he's pointing out the problem at hand that we have currently today. And shout out to that gentleman for laying it down. What I want to show here is that, you know we have that situation. Now take a look at this, because let's take a look at the history really quickly of Gary Gensler. Gary Gensler has been in the public sector a long time. He's also worked at Goldman Sachs, right? But look here. Gary Gensler is a seasoned regulator who was appointed to the SEC, whose mandate during his 5 years as a CFTC chairman was to implement the Dodd-Frank Act of 2010 and rein in abuses in the swap derivatives market that, in part, were blamed for causing the financial crisis of 2008. During his time at the CFTC, Gensler was also instrumental in pursuing numerous large enforcement actions, just like you're seeing today out of the SEC, against big banks accused of manipulating the London Interbank Offered Rate, or the LIBOR rate, which is a benchmark lending rate for short-term lending for banks. And honestly, that is in the middle of a transition to the SOFR rate, which is supposed to be a more accurate measure to come up with what that lending rate, that benchmark lending rate should be. And who was the architect who helped with that? Sandy O'Connor, who is now a board member of Ripple itself. All of these things are connected to a degree. What I want to stay focused on for this conversation is this. If you look at this article, I covered this the other day, that Brian Armstrong and Coinbase backed down and canceled a lending product due to the SEC threat to sue them. And in this, I wanted to show that in this article, and where is it here? We know that it said, and where is it? I know it's in here, that the Treasury is going to respond within the coming days or weeks, and it's somewhere inside of this, and I don't want to take too much time to find it. But at any rate, we know that from this article and other articles that I've covered here, that the U.S. Treasury does intend to release a framework on stablecoins, for stablecoins, and how to handle them and the risks that they pose, as well as the opportunities. We also know that that is going to come from not only Janet Yellen in the U.S. Treasury, but all of these participants in the president's working group. And this here backs up exactly what we were talking about, even though I couldn't find that comment for a second there. To discuss stablecoins in the meeting, participants discuss rapid growth stablecoins, potential uses of stablecoins as a means of payment, potential risks to end user, financial system, and national security. The Secretary underscored the need to act quickly to ensure there's an appropriate U.S. regulatory framework in place. And this was in July this past summer. And we know that I think it was on September 16th, we actually saw that it was the, here it is right here. So this is the U.S. Treasury saying they are about to release some guidance and framework on what stable coins, opportunities, and risks they need to be aware of and to do a clampdown. And we hope that everyone is ready for it. So the Treasury to flag stable coins perils as U.S. readies for clampdown. That's coming. As a reminder here, the U.S. Dodd-Frank Act also authorizes the Council to designate financial market utilities as systemically important if the Council determines that the failure or a disruption of the functioning of a financial market utility could create or increase the risk of significant liquidity or credit problems spreading among financial institutions or markets, thereby threaten the stability of U.S. financial system. This is what Gary Gensler spent his tenure implementing at the CFTC, is heavy regulation through the power of the Dodd-Frank Act. That's what we're talking about here. And now he's not at the CFTC. He crossed the street, and now they put him at the SEC. And when was he at the CFTC? At the last financial crisis. What has everybody been telling us for the last 24 months? We are on the pending edge, the precipice of another financial crisis. And now we find him at the SEC with the same heavy-handed regulation, talk, and actions that he plans on taking at the SEC when it comes to crypto this time around. Now, with that being said, what does this have to do with XRP? Well, the notion is that if we can win this case and not be a security as an asset, maybe we're a virtual currency when we come out of this thing, the way FinCEN said back in 2015. But if that was such a non-issue, then why are we in the case at all? Why are we being sued by the SEC at all? But then again, Gary Gensler sees even stable coins as securities. So to that regard, we may see that fight continue all the way till the end with the SEC on this matter. But let's take a look at this issue. This is what XRP's real purpose here is to serve as a bridge between currencies or any other thing that has been tokenized of value. That's the ultimate end goal. That is what the full-scale intended use for XRP is. A bridge currency. Or potentially a stable coin. And potentially from there, a global stable coin. Now, we're about to look at a document from the Financial Stability Board that defines global stable coins. But what would make XRP a global stable coin? Because we all understand a couple things about stable coins. A lot of people think stable coins are only worth $1. That's that, right? And then other people understand that stable coins are a pegged value to something or some things. Remember back in 2019, right before Swell, when we were invited and had the honor to go attend Swell, and we heard the video that David Schwartz had put out, understanding that you could now issue stable coins off of the XRP ledger. It was quite a rouse at the time. It was like, man, this is really exciting, because we knew at that point that really opened the door for all governments to be able to launch a stable coin or a central bank digital currency if they wanted to off of the XRP ledger. Understanding that XRP is supposed to work as a bridge asset to all the money, you have to ask yourself, if banks are going to use this new asset that is going to serve as money but not quite be legal tender, so it doesn't challenge the sovereign currencies it's supposed to help settle, we need to understand, where would it get its value? And why would it need to be so stable? Well, if it's as volatile as all of the opportunities that we could use out here to settle today, then why have XRP at all? There's been talk over the years, and I've talked about it a lot here on this channel, that XRP at some point may see a price set or a price floor for the asset. And if we should see that, how is one of the ways that we could find ourselves there? Well, one of the ways is that if you take all the nostro money that central banks have around the world, which is arguably between 12 and 20 plus trillion dollars locked up dormant around the world, so banks and industries can, perform their functions daily for transactions. And if everybody were to take a percentage of these assets that are lying dormant and chip them in to be reserves now for CBDCs, which would be launched on the ledger, the XRP ledger. You could put those reserves up a little bit in gold. You could put some up in oil. You could put some up in stocks and bonds, or just in cash reserves themselves. If this money is to sit there to serve as a floor reserve, then that can represent a price floor or a price set for the asset XRP, giving the banks a brand new form of money as a bridge currency that would not challenge the rest of the sovereign currency around the world, but would unlock the dormant fiat capital that has been locked up since the history of man and transactions around the world for the first time ever. And you would have done it without inflating the value of an asset by just purchasing it. You would use the cash reserves and the daily payment flows on that network to establish this said value. Now, taking a look at that, let's take a look at this as well. This is right here. Some people say, well, why would I do that when if there's going to be digital dollars around the world, we could just settle digital dollar to digital yen or whatever the pair is? You're right, you could. But in that regard, all you have done is digitized the friction from the paper world and moved it to the digital world. This is about unlocking capital and not having to pre-fund accounts. This is also about the velocity of money. If you hit the red button and lower the walls and bring XRP in the middle of that transaction, you now don't have the need to hold so much yen in your Nostro account. You could simply hold XRP and settle the transaction instantly. Not just make a payment, but settle and move the value instantly. Which I believe sets up the notion for the idea that either RippleNet, the XRP ledger, could find themselves to the Treasury's doorstep and be systemically important. And if they were to find themselves in that regard, then we could see the Treasury choose to do a forced buyback of the escrow release each month because of the importance of that asset. They could also create an international group like the G20 to be able to dole it out in a method as well. Here is what's interesting. The regulatory agency and the connected body here to the G20 that reports on these things talks about the regulation and supervision and oversight of global stablecoin arrangements. Now, what's interesting about this, and I've had a lot of back and forth talking with my buddy Big Skinny about this over the years, and we find ourselves back here again because we know the Treasury is about to, in the next coming days or weeks, release a framework for stablecoins. And one has to wonder if Gary Gensler gets his way that much of the market becomes digital asset securities. If, and I sure hope that XRP does not, will it become a stable coin or a global stable coin to the world? Because when we look at these things, we understand so-called stable coins are a specific category of crypto assets which have the potential to enhance the efficiency of the provision of financial services. Well, isn't that what Mr. Massad just told us about the benefits and the efficiencies? May also generate risk to financial stability, just like we're warned about the Dodd-Frank Act and SIFMUs. for which Gary Gensler was a part of implementing in the CFTC at his tenure there, and now at the SEC on the precipice of what may become the next financial crisis, particularly if they are adopted at a significant scale. While such financial stability risks are currently limited by the relatively small scale of these arrangements, this could change in the future. Stablecoins are an attempt to address the high volatility of traditional crypto assets by tying the stablecoin's value to one or more other assets, which is why I suggested tokenized oil, gold, silver, diamond, you name it, right? As well as cash reserves, such as the sovereign currencies. And what do we know? What do we know already? Ripple pilots a private ledger for central banks launching CBDCs, which are going to be backed, make no mistake, by sovereign currencies, just like said here. They have the potential to bring efficiencies to payments, including cross-border payments. Well, that's what we specialize in, isn't it? And to promote financial inclusion. However, a widely adopted stablecoin with the potential reach in use across multiple jurisdictions, so-called global stablecoins or GSCs, could become systemically important. Yeah, systemically important, huh? Just like this, right? Just like this right here. And when we look at the list of these things, you see the 10 tenets here that they put here of what really defines it. I'm not going to go over all of them with you because you get the gist of this now. And what I am going to show you is the actual definition of a global stablecoin. And you could certainly see that XRP has the ability to either serve that role, or the ledger has the ability to serve the role in the foundation for global stablecoins to be launched thereof of. A global stablecoin is a stablecoin with the potential reach and adoption across multiple jurisdictions and the potential to achieve substantial volume. Isn't that the goal? Because we know that the XRP ledger is a decentralized ledger. Isn't that the goal? Because we know between the complement of the XRP ledger and the interledger protocol, the interoperability effect of those two things working together give it the potential to achieve substantial volume because it can interoperate with any other network. And doesn't it bring more credence to the SEC lawsuit itself when on line 82 they acknowledge, the SEC acknowledges Ripple also undertook to achieve its goal of widespread distribution of XRP by exchanging XRP for non-cash consideration options contracts with other central banks around the world potentially? Because they understand it to be money too? If there's one thing I understand about a global pandemic and a global liquidity crisis, in order to come out of this, not only do you need the velocity of money, you need a new money. And you can't create a new money just by buying it with the old money. And everybody has to agree it's money, or otherwise it ain't money. So if they're going to do this, everyone had to contribute to want to upgrade their legacy systems, while Ripple built the market infrastructure to know that ultimately someday this XRP asset could serve as a bridge currency to the world, and all the new market infrastructure that's built and been put in place. Through non-cash consideration and use of labor market making services. Through other XRP distributions, Ripple paid third parties to assist in its efforts to accomplish as widespread a distribution of XRP as possible and to attempt to develop a use for XRP. Well, they didn't attempt to develop a use. They did develop a use. Remember MoneyGram? MoneyGram used it, and they saw enormous benefits, and it allowed the regulators to see a real live example of the use of XRP, the bridge currency, which is what it really is, right? Right here, the intended use of this asset. What I do know is that I don't know everything in this thing, and I don't pretend to, but I think it's our duty as investors to consider every possible outcome. Does the FSB say XRP or Ripple or XRP the ledger? No. But we know the IMF certainly has recommended RippleNet as a solution and that FSOC could oversee it. We do know that the U.S. Treasury is supposed to speak on stable coins. And what if we were to see that forced buyback from the U.S. Treasury? And what if we were to know and learn from that forced buyback could be cash put up as reserves on that ledger, supplying a price floor for the asset XRP itself? I tell you, and then to finish this thing, Ripple is looking to build a market-making platform for XRP as well. Now, why do you suppose they're doing that? The firm is looking to recruit as many as 10 people in total and is focused on initially hiring a crypto trader and experienced arbitraging between different exchanges and a marketing salesperson who will be tasked with building relationships with liquidity providers and exchanges, the person said. Last December, the Securities Exchange Commission announced it was filing the lawsuit, but what we need to focus on is this. The new team will be split between 3 hubs, London, New York, and Singapore. And if you didn't know it, these are the 3 biggest financial hubs of the world right here. Or certainly one of the 3. 3 of the 3, right? Out of the top 5 for sure. It sounds like to me what we're preparing for, and if we are right that the Treasury will come in, and at least when it's concerned to XRP and understanding what its true function and full-scale intended use is, maybe we see the Treasury be the savior, because maybe XRP is the savior for the US dollar. And to stop the digital yuan from trying to compete as the next global reserve currency of the world. That's going to do it for me. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe. Sorry this was a little long, but it's what it took to get it out today. And I hope in some way we've inspired everybody to push a little further with the possibilities of where this could go, because that's how important this asset really is, and this case, and the regulation. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe, leave a comment below, share with somebody you know, hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And listen, the only thing better than buying crypto is buying tax-free crypto, and that's with I Trust Capital. You got to check them out and hit the link. 7-day, 99-cent trial for Pure VPN. Help hide your identity online. And also check out Ledger Nano, one of the best places to get a cold storage wallet, and they got great specials, but you got to click the links. I'll catch you on the next one.